we're going to talk about hiring your first VA. So you've went out, you found the VA for your company, and you're ready to get started. But now that they're on board, like what's the next step? And I guess would be like what actually works, right? So you don't spend a bunch of time doing things that you really don't really need to do. So we're gonna go over that today, and we're gonna wait for a couple people to join here. It's only been like 15 seconds, so let's do it. Once you guys join, just give me like a thumbs up. Let me know you're here. Definitely ask some questions because I'm going to go over a few things that I found that really works. Going from the position of hiring a VA, getting them started, to scaling that business, to getting more VAs, and I guess just implementation. So like definitely ask your questions once I get through it. I'll be sure to answer everything that you guys give me. Hopefully I can give you some value here today. And, obviously as we continue to reach out, hopefully with Pace and Cody's help, we can help a lot more people bring good VAs into their business to help them scale themselves. So they're focusing on tasks that, actually going to get you paid. What's up? What's up? Be sure to leave some comments, guys. Thumbs up, heart, anything. We'll get started here in just a second. Awesome. And before we get started, as you guys comment and put stuff in, what's going on? What's going on? Be sure to put what market you're in too. I'm interested to see where everyone's at, because I know obviously it's a massive audience, so it's really cool to see where you guys are tuning in from. All right, well, let's get into it. So what's up, Christine? What's up, everybody? Emilio, David, Nicole, Melissa, what's going on, guys? Today I want to go over, I guess, after you hire your first VA and you've made that commitment to say, hey, I want to focus on tasks that, are getting contracts signed, that's going to actually get me paid, and you start outsourcing your prospecting so you have consistent lead flow. A lot of folks reach out to me and say, hey, so what do I need to do? What have you found that works really well? So that's what we're going to take some time today and go over. Really, like if you went to VA Hub and you were to get started, or anyone really, it doesn't really matter. There typically is three things that really, really, really are super important, and that's what we're going to go over. I mean, first and foremost, data, right? You hired your VA, they're getting going. I know for me it was, I was door knocking, so getting a VA allowed me to focus on that while they cold called, and I wasn't like trying to respond texting while I was out and about, so that helped me, create consistent lead flow. So, with that, when I got started, it was all over the place, right? It was like, hey, just please help me cold call these people. I had this really big list. Like everyone is like, you get this high equity absentee list, or, a lot of folks don't know where to pull the data, right? But you put your VA on some sort of data list, and you pray for the best. You pray that you start getting some leads in, so you can eventually just start focusing on the people who are vetted to get contracts. But the main thing early on to focus on is data, putting your VA in a really good position to succeed, because they're just like you, right? When you were cold calling, if you cold called, wouldn't you much rather be calling someone who, probably has a high likelihood of actually wanting to sell, rather than just asking random people, hey, do you want to sell your house? Hey, do you want to sell your house? And that's a lot of people's approach. A lot of folks will pull just a big data set, like, hey, in Phoenix, there's like certain hot zip codes. So those pull that hot zip code and they just pray for the best. Like, hey, call these people, see if they want to sell. Well, what happens is you spread your VA very thin, right? they're going to call this big data set. There's going to be a lot of wrong numbers, a lot of people not interested. So they're going to spend most of their shift talking to people who just aren't interested in selling their property. So as you're getting started, it's very, very, very important to really stack your list and just call niche campaigns, because like, yeah, for some companies who have, 20, 30 cold callers, they can call these big sets of data, and because it's just a numbers game, right? They're just talking to a bunch of people. But if you only have one or two or three VAs calling that big data set, you're going to wonder why. Like, hey, I don't know, they called for 6 to 8 hours today. They're supposed to be cold calling. They promised 2 good leads a day. Well, I don't know why I'm not getting those 2 good leads. Well, the reason is I equate it to, like going to a mall or something where you're just asking random strangers if they want to sell their house. Like, how many people do you think I'm going to find in the mall that wants to sell their house if I'm just asking strangers? Maybe none, maybe one, I don't know, right? But I'm going to spend most of my day talking to the wrong people. But like, what's the likelihood of me finding, someone who wants to sell if I was outside of like the bankruptcy court or outside of a probate lawyer's office, right? And I was talking to those people, probably a very high likelihood that I'm going to be on the phone with someone who, or like having a conversation with someone who would actually be interested to entertain the conversation. So it's putting your VAs in a good position to get you the leads that you want. So you don't need all this data, right? Your VA is going to call about 2,500 leads a week, but you don't need, like 20,000 lines of data, even 10,000 lines of data. If you have niche campaigns, and this is what I tell everyone, if you have these smaller campaigns of maybe like 1,000 to 2,000, multiple ones of those, they can call through that, and then you recycle it. Call through it, recycle it. I mean, I think like our foreclosure list, man, I think we recycled that one like 14, 15 times last month, right? So it's crazy. We're talking to those people, but ultimately I know like, hey, these are the people that I want to talk to. It doesn't matter, how many VAs I have. I know like by calling foreclosures all the time, there's a very high likelihood I'm going to get on the phone with someone who wants to sell their property. So that's number one. I think it's super important that you have good data. You know where to pull the good data. I personally use Batch. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. It's just I've tried other data sources. I won't drop any other names. But from what I've found, by paying a little bit more for the data, I get better results. So we use the stacker, and we take foreclosures, probates, divorce, code violations, pre-probate, inheritance, like those kind of niche lists, and we just stack them against other lists. Low income, high equity, that's another good one. And what you do is you put it all into the stacker, and you see which properties are on multiple lists, and those are the people that we want to call. So number one, you hired your VA, put them in a good position to get on the phone with someone or have a good text conversation with someone who would actually want to sell their property. I'm going to answer a couple questions here before I move on to the second one. Let's see here. Awesome, guys. You guys are all over the place. South Texas, Southern California, Denver, Colorado. Gracious day. Let's see here. For some reason, it's not letting me click to show the question, but I'm just going to answer them. Hey, Matt, I know you have said it's time to get a VA when you can first afford one. Basically, it's never too soon, right? Yeah, definitely. That was the first thing that I did, is I knew right out the gate that I didn't want to cold call. I know a lot of folks are like, you should wear every hat in your company. You should do it, yada, yada. You should do it first. I never wanted to cold call. I hated doing it. Even like responding to RVMs, like calling them back, it was like, no thanks. So I did it as soon as I could. So I recommend doing that. But of course, like it just has to make sense for you too. Let's see here. Oops, she just answered my question. So a list of 2,000, they'll call through a month repeatedly. It doesn't, if you want it to be that way, sure. Like you're going to eventually have to pull some fresh data, because what's going to happen is they call through that 2,000 and then they recycle it, right? So everyone who they called, because you use a power dialer. So plenty of times if you're dialing multiple lines, just so you guys understand how the dialer works, if you dial, 5 lines at a time, there's going to be people who don't answer. So, and then there's people who obviously do answer. So if you're calling 5 lines and one person answers, the other 4 lines drop. right? So when you recycle the campaign, you're recycling for all the people who didn't answer the phone. It went to voicemail, you weren't connected, the call was abandoned, those kind of things. We actually have a tutorial video of how to do that on vahub.com. You just click on tutorials. But I'm sure every dialer has something very similar, but that's how you recycle. So I'm not sure if 2,000 would be enough for the whole month. Because I normally recommend about 5,000 to 6,000 lines of data, because if they call 2,500 a week, you recycle some here and there, you give them some fresh data, that should be enough, especially if you're calling like super niche stuff. Let's see here. Can a VA have different area code phone numbers for the different states? Yes, definitely. So we work in virtual markets. So we have Florida, Texas, and Arizona. So for the different area codes, we have different campaigns. So I'm familiar with call tools because that's what we use in our business. So with that, we have different campaigns, right? So I'll have a Phoenix niche campaign, whatever that niche list we're calling. It's just say I'm calling foreclosures in Phoenix. Obviously, I'll have phone numbers associated with Phoenix for that campaign, and you can buy them in your dialer. And then for Texas, I'll have another niche campaign just for Texas, and I'll buy the area codes for that area, and I'll attach it to that campaign, right? And we have multiple phone numbers for each area code, so that way one phone number doesn't get spammed. Because if you're making all your outbound phone calls from one number, it's going to get tagged as a robo really quick, and then your agent's going to be wondering like, hey, I don't know why I'm not connected to anybody. It's been 8 minutes between calls and I haven't really talked to anyone. So having multiple phone numbers is important too, because it's like it just randomly goes through those phone numbers, so you're not hitting one number many times. So yes, you can definitely have different area codes depending on what market you're calling in. Where do you get low income data from? So I have in the past I've done like real estate. I do have a real estate license, so I use Cole Realty resource. They actually have a really cool, I think it's like $97 a month or something, and it's a lot of exports. So I'll pull the data from there for low income, high equity. So and it has two phone numbers attached to each address already, but the data is not very good. I mean, like when I first started, I was using that data for my VA, and they were like talking to Popeyes and KFC and I don't know, McDonald's. They weren't talking to the homeowners. It was just connecting to like businesses and stuff. So I just use the addresses and the homeowner's name, and then I put it into the stacker, and then I skip trace it in batch for the low income stuff. Well, my VA does it, but yeah, that would be the next step. Let's see. Sorry, I'm new at this, but how do you stack multiple levels of motivation? Do you guys use PropStream or other software? So yeah, you can use ListSource, PropStream, Cole Realty, wherever you aggregate your data from. It doesn't really matter. There's great data on PropStream. There's great data on ListSource. There's also properties that you can now pull on batch. I haven't used that service yet, but I'm told it's really cool. So you can already have it under one roof. But ultimately, we split it up in different lists. So if I go to PropStream, for example, and I pull tax defaults or tax delinquent, I will have that on its own list. I'll download it and I'll put it into the stacker, and I make sure to label that list, like Phoenix tax delinquent, or Texas, San Antonio tax delinquent, or Houston tax delinquent. I label it accordingly. And then after you have all those lists into the stacker, there's an option where you can search under your properties, and you can like choose how many lists you want it to stack against. You can choose which list you want it to stack against. So if I want to find someone who's tax delinquent, who is also in foreclosure, and also it just recently got divorced, I can do that because I labeled the list and I can stack it in batch. So it's super duper helpful, and it will tell me which list those are on when you go to stack. Let's see here. Hey, Matt, do you have to provide a dialer? So I'm assuming you mean for VA Hub. Yes, you do have to provide the dialer. I recommend Call Tools. If you guys go that route, I have a rep named James. He can get you a discount to get started. We're using that until Batch releases their dialer, and that's supposed to be in the next 30 to 60 days. So keep you posted on that one. Let's see here. Don't know if you said this, but what is your opinion of overseas VAs for cold callers? People have said the accent is instant turn off and your success rate will not be good. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of limiting belief on that. All of my VAs are in the Philippines, every single one of them. And that goes from my openers who do cold calling, my people who do text messaging, my lead managers. Even I have an actual acquisition person right now in the Philippines. His name is Don, and his English is awesome, and he's super duper good. I also have an opener whose accent is pretty thick, but he produces more leads than everybody else. So, and then there's limiting beliefs on the accent and like male, female, like who does better. I find it's just the right person, right? We're looking for someone who is self-motivated, self-starter, has some kind of sales background. Um, and I mean, ultimately, like we don't hire, like we don't train good people. We just hire the good people, right? They naturally have to be that self-starter, just like if you would hire someone here in the United States. Like they have to be someone who's just going to get it done. So I don't think that is the biggest thing. I know a lot of people make a big deal out of the accent. Every one of my people are in the Philippines, and some have accents, some not as thick. Like with Don, can't really hear it, but we still find really good success all the way around. Prop stream, let's see here. Prop stream is pretty good. The data isn't the fastest to update, but it's decent. Yeah, decent. I mean, we still pull data from PropStream when it comes to those kind of lists. The bigger lists, like the high equity stuff that I want to stack against the other panes, because I'll still pull a high equity list, and I'll just we'll use like list source for that. But I heard again, batch properties, their lists are really cool. So again, I can't speak on it. I'd be lying to you if I said it was awesome because I haven't used it, but I hear good things. Let's see here. What is the best way to screen the VA's calls to make sure they're doing it right, asking questions right, building rapport right? So in call tools, there's an option where our CSM can actually hop in and listen to the VA's calls. So that's what we have at VA Hub, and that's the reason why we created that position, is because I used to have to do it, right? If I wanted to say like, hey, why are we not getting any leads, or let me listen in on their conversation so I can provide some training, I would have to go onto the dialer and I go to live agent status so I can see that they're dialing, obviously. And there's like a little headset icon that I would click on, and I can listen in on their conversations. So that's what our CSMs are trained to do at VA Hub. Is that's a part of, especially if the VA is green with the company, they came on, they went through the interview process, they got certified. For the first month, the CSM is on them every day listening to their live calls. And then even after that, they do weekly one-on-ones and like weekly group trainings. So it's super important that they get developed, and that's the easiest way to do it is listen to the live calls. You'll hear them in action and, kind of tweak what they're saying, or, provide coaching and feedback on, how to go tonality, how to mirror the prospect on the phone. All that gets done, and it can be done on the dialer. As call tools, again, I don't know how to do it on Mojo or ZenCall, but that's how we do it on call tools. Do you personally train your VAs? Yes, personally train my VAs, as well as have the general training. And that's what I was going to go over really as the second thing is, it's actually the third thing, but definitely training your VAs, it will take you to the next level, because your CSM is responsible for, listening in their calls, provide coaching, provide feedback, and kind of be their person to get them from like, hey, they're good, to okay, now they're very skilled. But what I find is the folks who kind of take it to the next level, like if you really want to scale your business to where most of it is being done by VAs, like it can definitely be done. That's what our model is. It's taking it to the next level. I want everybody to understand like what the big picture is, right? So even the openers whose technically only job is to cold call someone, interrupt their day, and see if they're interested in selling their property, I still want them to understand what we're trying to do, so they know like that's not a lead, or that's a really good lead. It's exactly what we're looking for. So it's consistent training, and I do it as well as having a VA who is just there for quality, making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but going the extra mile. And I still do one-on-ones with every single one of my VAs to this day, because that truly affects the bottom line, because they want to get better. And if you have the right person, they're going to ask a bunch of questions. So he's taking them from being pretty good to being awesome. Taking a VA like Don who started as an opener, but now he does acquisitions. It took time, but it takes that one-on-one training because I want them to understand, the big picture of what we're trying to do. So I definitely still train them as well as have, someone train them weekly and listening on their calls and stuff. Because I don't listen in the calls anymore, but I still give the big picture. And just so you guys understand, the one-on-ones, when I do it, is I want to hear like what's working for them, what's not working, answer their questions, and then provide some feedback and go over anything new that we have going on. So I definitely still do that. Let's see here. What would be the first task you would have your VA do? Cold call and text. Probably cold call. And, if you're still handling the text and you're not door knocking, that's fine. But definitely cold calling first, because like that takes hours at a time, and you're not putting yourself in the position as like the investor and as the business owner. Like, you should be focused on what's going to actually bring you money. Like, yes, prospecting gives you opportunities, but focusing on like what is actually going to give me money this month, how do I get a deal to closing, is talking to sellers who are super vetted, that are ready to make a deal happen, negotiating with them and getting the contract. That's what you should be focused on. What is the average cost for a good VA? Where'd that go? What's the average cost? Emilio says. So a VA hub, anyone who is just cold calling is $7.50 an hour. So industry standard, you can expect anywhere from $7 to $12. So our folks who just do cold calling are $7.50. The folks who are doing cold calling and texting, they're $9 an hour. So that's basically industry standard for someone who is a skilled professional to do those tasks. And again, like, they also have the CSMs to help train and manage them. So that's obviously super important. Let's see here. Mike, don't know if you said this, but what is your opinion overseas? Okay, I already answered that one. Right. Yeah, I already answered that one. Patch leads. I need to hire someone ASAP. My current VA is MIA, so I guess I have no VA. SMH. Yeah, no. That's why you have the CSM, because it's a headache having to go through and like I would get all the excuses, because before like VA Hub happened and before we created that, it was, I went to Upwork and I went to other, let me cancel this call. I went to other like online sources to hire people, and then, everything would be going smooth. And then 5 minutes before their shift, they're like, hey, my dog just died and I can't come in. Or, hey, I'm really, really sick. My doctor says I have hypertension. I shouldn't be working overnight shifts. So, like crazy stuff. So like having the fail safe and having a CSM or someone to help you manage that is a big burden off your shoulders. Because, yeah, you can definitely go and hire someone on Fiverr or Upwork, and you can definitely do all that. But getting someone who is skilled and trained and managed is a big time saver, because that's what it's all about. Like, we're trying to save time and focus on the things that we should be focused on. Let's get us paid. Worrying about if that VA is going to show up or not, or if their tools are working or not, is a big time suck. So go to vahub.com and see if we could be a good fit. Accent is irrelevant. If sellers are motivated, they'll be glad someone is interested in buying. Exactly. Like I think Cody said last week, you can't say the right thing to the wrong person, and you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. So if they're motivated to sell, it's just going to happen. I'm told you have to train them. Yes, definitely train your VAs. Let's see. What's up, Matt? What's an additional training for VAs, and who do you recommend have VA Hub? So if you're currently using VA Hub, your CSM, like I said, is responsible for getting them to that level where they're good and skilled and, doing what they're supposed to be doing. But like everything else in this world, champions, the people who excel and do better than most, just take that next step. So I have Google Classroom for all my VAs for professional development. So they get their one-on-ones that they give with the CSMs. I personally meet with them too. And they also have a resource to where they understand the big picture of what's going on in my company, where we're trying to go, how we process leads, kind of the next step. Because I want the VA to grow in my business too. I don't want them to just be a cold caller forever. I would love for them to eventually be what we call in our company a lead manager. And, hey, if it works out, let's get you to acquisition. So, that I want them to see and understand, and also feel valued that I'm going to put the time in to make sure that, they have everything that they need. So not just treating them as, a robot, like, hey, plug cold caller in, spot B, and spot B should give me 2 leads. It's who is that person? How can I help this person? How can I get them to being like, okay, putting 2 leads in, but now like not only putting 2 leads in, they're putting 3, 4, 5 leads, and they understand what we're looking for. So those leads are like, oh my gosh, I gotta get them on the phone right now. They're ready to make a deal happen, right? So I mean, that's something that I truly harp on. Let's see. Trisha says, do you have your VA come up with the ARV? I'm having a hard time trusting their numbers, and it takes us a long time for me. I do not. I do not have the VAs do the ARV. When I got Don to the point of acquisitions, he pulls really good comps and he understands it now. But that's a part of the training, right? So having your CSM get them to that level of being good, a part of our training is for them to understand what we look at in properties, how do we comp a property. But still, I'm the final person that gives the say, because ultimately I need to know what's going on in my business, and I need to know, like, is this something that we can commit to? Because I don't want a VA just contracting someone that I can't perform on. So I still, I'm that last line of, hey, let's commit to this number. Ooh, I don't like that number. Let's get it a little bit less, right? So that's important too. I still definitely check the ARV in all my properties, even if it's just a matter of, going on. They'll put it in our group chat, and I'll go in and I'll type it in, and I'll just look at it on Zillow, and I can see like if it's realistic or not. Even though it's Zillow, we'll still take a look at it, and it gives me a good gauge of if it's a good deal or not. Hey Matt, what is a good intro you're using or seeing working best with your VAs for cold calling? So very simple. It's they say, hi, I'm looking for the owner of 123 Main Street. That wouldn't be yours, right? That simple. I want to know that I'm talking to the owner. If you are the owner, awesome. If you're not, hey, I'm trying to reach out to them because I would like to buy the property. Do you know if they would be interested in getting an offer? Something very simple. Because if I'm not on the phone with the right person, I'm wasting my time. But a lot of these properties obviously have a spouse. So, going through and just naming names. Sometimes you don't get the right person. Sometimes you get their sister. Sometimes you get the brother. I don't want to be off-putting at the beginning of the call. I don't even mention a name. I'm just like, hey, I'm looking for the owner of 123 Main Street. That would be you, right? Something very simple. Do you allow your VAs to make offers? Negative. They don't make the offer. It's just a part of kind of like the Sandler sales. We don't ever commit to a number, because what happens is, especially on the onset of the call from the opener to the lead manager, at no point in time in the process do we give them a number until I know that they're ready to go. Because people who just want an offer or make you feel like you have to give them a number, 9 times out of 10 they're going to take it and shop it around, because there's no shortage of people who want to buy a property. And I tell sellers that on the acquisition call. I'm like, hey, there's no shortage of people who want to buy a property. So here's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is I give you the number right now. You say, I'm going to think about it. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to think about it means you're going to go call that person who offered you 170. You're going to call the person who offered you 175. And then they're like, oh, no, I'd never do that, yada, yada. It's like, well, I completely understand, but I'd be happy to commit to a number if you're ready to do something today, right? Like, at no point in time do the VAs give them a number, and our acquisition people are trained to do the same, because they're just going to go shop it around. Let's see. Sorry if I'm missing your questions, guys. I'm trying to go through them. Hey man, Jason said, hey man, how is your business set up? So business is set up from openers that are like, everyone's virtual. So openers who are cold calling, texting, answering calls that are coming in live. And then from there, they put it into our CRM. And we have lead managers who work the CRM. A lot of people call them junior acquisition, or whatever that position is for their business, but they're lead managers, so they're working the CRM. And their job is to further vet that lead. And then once I know it gets put on my calendar or my acquisition guy's calendar that this person is ready to make a decision. So normally that first step happens via live transfer. And then once it comes in, we further vet that lead. It gets put into like our acquisition cycle, and then we just send it down the assembly line. So again, everything is done virtually. Let's see. When you sign up with VA Hub as a service a la carte, do you hire a VA and they take care of everything? So yes, when you go to VA Hub, you're hiring someone to help you prospect. So you're hiring someone to help you cold call or text. We're rolling out our admin VAs probably in about another 2 weeks. I said that last week, but we're still not quite ready yet for that. But we're going to eventually offer the service where you can hire a VA to do your admin task as well. I do not recommend, and we don't do this anyways, having your cold caller or texter do the back end work, because there's a lot of other stuff that goes on, right? To get to that point where, hey, I'm on the phone with a motivated seller, there's, obviously picking the list, pulling the data, getting it ready for skip tracing, put it into the stacker, bringing that data back out, formatting it for the dialer, putting it into the dialer, and then always checking your campaigns. Obviously, your CSM there is there to help you make sure your campaigns are running properly and your tools are running properly. But all that back end stuff is something that also takes a lot of time. So if you have someone you're paying hourly at VA Hub, even if it's $7.50 for cold calling, if you have them do all these other things, we can't keep them accountable for, hey, why didn't you put 2 leads in today? Like, what's going on? You don't have the lead count, right? They're doing all these other tasks. So yes, that's still something that you're going to outsource that help to tackle. So we should have our admin VAs ready to go very soon. Let's see. What are good KPI goals for callers, or what are your KPIs? Numbers of dials per day, first number of qualified sellers, first number of offers, first number of contracts. So that varies business by business. I guess what we look at is I would love for them to have around 110 to 120 conversations per day. And that counts people, hey, no, I'm not interested. Hey, no, I'm not interested. I would like for them to be connected and having an actual conversation with at least 110 to 120 people. So typically that takes like 600 calls, maybe 600 to 800 calls. And then obviously you have to look at your connect rate, because in some markets like Phoenix, cold calling, the connect rate sucks, to be honest with you, because these people are getting called all the time, right? So it takes a whole lot more data for me to get on the phone with the right person if it's not a foreclosure. So I would obviously look at the market that you're in, like what the connection rate is, and I'm looking to have that many conversations, because if they're putting 2 leads in per day, I know some folks, their conversion takes about 53 leads to get a deal, but they put in a lot of stuff that I don't. I'm just looking for folks that, like, they want to sell their property. Well, they have to pass our 4 pillars, right? They have to want to sell, they have to have pain and motivation, they have to have a definite timeline, and they have to be reasonable with their asking price. So those 4 things. So if they pass those 4 pillars, and they're not asking retail, we put them into our system. So our conversion rate is a little bit lower. I believe our deal rate is 1 in 26. So that's how we do it. Everybody has their own thing. Some folks like, yeah, bring in the retail leads because I can structure something creatively. I can do a subject to. Certainly that naturally happens as you market, but it depends on the market that you're in, and I guess how your business rolls. Let's see, what's the minimum for hours per week? That's 30. So the reason why we have 30 hours per week is we don't want our VAs working any other side job. So 30 hours per week is technically full-time, 6 hours per day, 5 days per week. That allows them to really commit to the company, commit to your objective, to make sure that they're not distracted and doing other things on the times where they're not working with you, right? The goal is when you hire a VA, they're your VA. They're like the person for your business. We don't want them, also doing admin tasks for this other person and cold calling for this other person over the weekends and stuff like that. 30 hours is the minimum. Let's see here. Hey, Matt, what are the tasks to have VA do in real estate investing business? So what I would do to properly answer this question is write down all the things that you're doing right now that isn't getting you paid. All the things that you're doing right now that isn't, like, talking to Mr. Seller, getting a contract, getting it signed. Everything else, write it down. So anything not that, I outsource. I give it to a VA to do. Anything that doesn't require them to be physically here, because they can do everything other than roll up to your appointment and get the deal. So everything not getting the contract, put it down, it can be outsourced. So there's plenty of things to do, from KPI tracking to managing the team, making sure everybody is, doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's obviously the CSM's job, but also, the data task, like that can take a long time. Scrubbing public records, formatting your data for the dialer, making sure, like, because there's certain ways that you format for call tools to make sure you're dialing all the phone numbers associated with that lead, and we only map the first three. But that also takes time. You have to take your sheet. You have to put the phone numbers, all three phone numbers, in one cell. So that way, John Smith isn't in your data sheet three times. It's one time with three phone numbers. So that's how you power dial it. There's actually a tutorial as well on vahub.com if you want to see how to do that. But that's also a task that VA can do. So all the stuff that's going to be time sucking and not getting you a contract, have a VA to help you do it. Won't the VAs already be trained if going through you? Wouldn't it just be a matter of adjusting to the investor what type of training we'll already have? I do not have time for training anyone from scratch and be paying for it too. Yeah, so that's the purpose of having Gladys. That's the purpose of us having the certification process, right? So they go through, and we're looking for people who have a real estate background or people who have a sales background. They go through the training, right? They get the certification on the last day. They do live calls. If everything's good, we obviously have people who fall out, don't get certified, but the people who get certified, they demonstrated that they're ready to rock and roll, right? But like I was saying, it's the companies that go the extra mile that really succeed. How do you go from one deal, right? One deal a month or two deals a month? How do you go from two deals to five? How do you go from 5 to 10 to 15? It's by developing your people even further, right? Because your CSM is going to take them so far, right? They're gonna manage them, make sure they're implementing the training that you want, right? Because you're gonna do, like, we always recommend our clients to hop in on the weekly one-on-ones the CSM has with the agent, but they're gonna take them so far. But helping them go from here to being like excellent, awesome, amazing. Like, some people just like already get it. They've already had the work experience in the past, but still they don't know your business, right? So taking them from being like, oh my gosh, this person's really good, to being like, holy crap, this person's a rock star, and you have like lead managers and acquisition people, is by doing it yourself. Like, I mean, I'm just as busy as anyone else. I can definitely find stuff that, like, between all the markets doing acquisitions and stuff, to where I can be like, sorry guys, I can't do the one-on-ones, but I know in my heart, like, that's what makes the biggest difference. That's why we're not doing, 2 to 5 deals. That's why we're doing 10 to 15 deals. Is because our people really, 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 really get it, and our CSMs get the support from me, and they feel like they're valued, and like, hey, I'm going to give you whatever you need. Just tell me what you need, and I'm going to give it to you. Make sure you're going to be successful. So that's the biggest difference, guys. Thanks for doing this, Matt. Does your VA qualify the lead? For example, make sure they're willing to consider an offer below market or willing to take turns. Yeah, so a part of their qualification with the lead is they pass those 4 pillars, but also set the expectation of, hey, we don't pay retail. We are investors. It has to make sense for us, right? We're going to do this, this, and this with the property. It's either we're going to buy it to fix and flip, or we're going to source the deal, right? And we don't tell them to say wholesaling, but we're either going to source the deal, we're going to fix and flip, or we need to buy the property on terms that make sense, right? So the VAs are taught to set the expectation that we are investors, we don't pay retail price. So when it comes to you, they, like, hey, we're not going to live in it, man. And the sellers know that. Let's see, Antonio, I didn't catch it. What is the cost of the CSM? I'm assuming that's separate from hourly wage of cold caller. No, the CSM is, we pay that to make sure we keep good quality for you guys. So the only thing you're paying for is the cold caller. CSM is a part of the service. So the CSM manages 10 VAs. So literally their only job is to make sure their VA is performing. And that's how we measure how, like, effective that CSM is by, like, what's actually happening. Like, are your VAs performing? This person hasn't pushed a lead today. Like, how did you approach that conversation? Are you sending all your daily reports? The CSM actually sends our clients a midday report saying, hey, this is what's working. This has been our challenges. I was listening to live calls. I provided coaching and feedback on this. And then, of course, you also get your end-of-day report where it goes over this: how many people we called. These are the do not calls. These are not interested. These are how many leads we had today. Here's some more notes, right? So that's the CSM's job, and we cover that, of course, to make sure we push over good quality for you guys. Is there training or some kind of tutorial for batch leads? There definitely is. So if you sign up for an account, I believe it's in the top right-hand corner. They have like a whole tutorial section that goes over like every little thing the system does. And hell, I don't even know all the stuff it does, but I know how to stack a list and how to export that data and how to skip trace. So that's like the major things, you know. Let's see. All right. Chad Glover, what's up, bro? What do you think of batch over prop stream? So I haven't used batch yet, so I can't confidently speak on that. But I've heard really, really good things. But I'd be lying to you guys if I said, "Oh yeah, it's the best. Go get it right now," because I haven't used it. But I heard really, really good things. So the plan is to transition off of prop stream, but it just hasn't happened yet. So I can't really confidently speak on that. CSM, yes, client success manager. Let's see here. How many calls in a 4-hour period should you expect your VA to make? So 6 hour, they're making at least 100 calls an hour. So 100 to 150. You can bank on having around 400 to 500 calls done in that 4-hour period. Matt, for a new investor with a W-2 looking for a VA, would you suggest 30 hours? Yes, definitely. 30 hours to 40 hours. I'll work 30, give them the opportunity to work more hours if they want to do so. Angelo says, thank you, bro. I asked because some say we should assume that when we cold call that we're speaking to the owner instead of asking for them. I just wanted your opinion on that. Yeah, man, definitely. Let's see here. Where's a good place to source a lot of data for cheap? So you can have your VAs cold call. I would not source cheap data because we have done that. And what's going to happen is you lead to, well, first you have expectations, right? You want to have your 2 leads per day. Well, that's not going to happen. And then secondly, your VA is going to get very frustrated because they're calling businesses, Nordstrom Rack, JCPenney, all these places that are like, hey, so you have the wrong phone number, so please take us off your list. So when you buy the cheap data, the chance of you actually getting the right person on the phone is like, it just defeats the whole purpose. You're paying someone hourly to call folks that they're never, like, it's a shot in the dark if they're going to get connected with the right person. It happens from time to time, but more likely than not, you're going to lead to a lot. It's going to lead to a lot of frustration. So, but if you want to get data period like list, batch, prop stream, list source, those are the ones that I personally use, obviously, and then Cole Realty for like the low income stuff. Thanks for your comment, Pace. Let's see. In regards to the question on how batch is different from GoKnock is designed for virtual driving for dollars, door knocking, targeting on niche list of homeowners to not call mail. Yep. So I think they kind of work hand in hand because I didn't have GoKnock. Like I said, when I got started last year, I was door knocking when my VA was cold calling. I didn't have like any kind of, I guess, software or anything I put on my phone so where I could keep track of all this. So I would door knock the foreclosures, and that's how I got my first deal. But I had to take that data sheet and I would like go city by city. I would sort it and then put it into MapQuest and then like sort the route for MapQuest, go out, door knock, leave some notes. It was inconvenient, but it was effective too. So having a tool that makes you even more efficient while you're out there, like it's a game changer. So I'm super excited to see like all the success GoKnock has, because there's going to be a lot of folks who've just been struggling with marketing, and then maybe that you've been doing your own cold calling for a while. Getting out there and talking to sellers is what's going to get a deal. So that's the best part about door knocking, is because when you door knock, the person that answers the door, there's a high likelihood that conversation happens right then and there. You build the rapport and you get the deal done right there. Like it's better than having a conversation on the phone sometimes, especially for the people that are hard to reach. Getting out there and knocking on their door is amazing. So I think batch leads and GoKnock, two different things. but I feel like they work really well together because I think you need both for stacking and skip tracing, and obviously the stuff where you're out in the field. Go knock is like functional, right? You're using it while you're out there in the field. So if you're building a door knocking team too, super important to have something like, well, there's nothing else like it to have Go Knock. Let's see. Hey, bro, to be honest, they both have their pros and cons. Da, da, da. I use both of them right now. There you go. Yeah, ultimately it comes down to, guys, like what can make you the most efficient and figuring out like how much you want to spend on marketing per month, right? So before you hire a VA, I would probably have at least a couple grand set aside, maybe 2 or 3 grand set for marketing, because one VA for the month is going to be $225 a week for someone just cold calling 30 hours per week, right? So you do that math, and like, hey, from the time I get a lead in from that cold caller to that lead getting closed is typically about 60 days, right? So you want to have at least 2 to 3 months of marketing set aside so you're not sweating it out. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue this, because when you like red light, green light your marketing, your whole business does the same. It's we're getting leads. Oh, we got to pull back. We don't have the marketing. We're just going to work our leads right now. So everything stops, because that doesn't affect you right now or today. It affects next week, 2 weeks, next month from the lead flow, and you have to start back all over again. So pick something that you can consistently do, or else your business is going to be that roller coaster, stopping and going, and you won't have that consistent deal flow that you're hoping to have. Let's see. Can you post a sample recording of your VA call to the lead? After this, if you can actually send me a direct message with your email, I can have our rep Jasmine send those to you. She actually keeps them for the week, especially the folks who just got certified yesterday. They graduated. When you hire a VA, are you contracted for a certain period of time? Like, can you hire them for a week or a month? Like, I think that just kind of goes over what I was just talking about. When you bring a VA on, they're not just a virtual assistant. They are a part of your business. It's like they're right here. They're like a partner with you. I wouldn't hire. That's the reason why we do the 30 hours, is having someone who is just coming into your business, coming out. The training is going to be inconsistent, and you put so much time into developing your people, and if they're just going to go, then what's the point? So definitely have multiple months of marketing set aside, so you can confidently have that person with you for the foreseeable future. Let's see, guys. Keep the questions coming. Do I have to pull a list? Dario says, do I have to pull a list, then skip trace it, and then give it to the VA so they start Mojo? Right. That is the admin task. You pull the list from wherever you're getting it from, you get it skip traced, and you put it in the dialer, right? Because the VA's job should be, hey, what's going on? About to start my shift. Let's get this. Let's get these leads. They hop in, and they start calling, right? That should be what they're doing for the whole time, because that's how because their only job is prospecting, so you should have them just prospecting. Let's see here. Definitely, man, definitely. And again, guys, like that's gonna set your business apart. Like, I see a bunch of stuff about training. That's gonna set your business apart. Like, going that extra mile. Like I have, like I said, I have the Google Classroom set up for my business. That, yes, they're still getting monitored, they're still getting trained, but like, I want them to know what I know. And I actually just told the whole group that yesterday morning. Like, guys, like, I want to give you every resource I can possibly give you, because the more you know, because you're an extension of me, right? You're an extension of the company. I want to put you in the best position, so when you're talking to a seller, you're not like in the dark with anything. You understand exactly what we're doing. So the training is super duper important. And then going back to like the whole admin thing, write down everything. Write down everything that you do in your business, like pulling the time. Pulling the data. Getting it skip traced. Formatting that list for the dialer, or with texting, setting up your texting campaigns. Obviously, I still do the bigger picture, like, hey, this is who we're going to market to this month. This is like our focus. This is what we're going to do. But after that, I just relay it to the team, and I have a VA that literally, they grab that baton and they take it. They do everything from start to finish, getting it ready for my openers. So It can certainly be done, but I would start documenting your business the best you can and understanding all the things that are just wasting your time. There's actually a really cool tool. Cody actually shared it with me. It's called Lucid Chart. I think it's just lucidchart.com. You can create flow charts for your business. So everything that you do and everything that that goes on in your business, you can document. So that only helps keep everybody on the same page. So like I implore you guys to go to vahub.com, check it out, see if it could be the right fit. There's actually a part where it says like apply now, I believe. And you just enter a short form telling us more about your business, what you're hoping to do. And yeah, we'll have either Jasmine or Emin reach out to you, and we can see if we're a good fit for you. But again, keep those other things in mind. You want to have the good data. You want to have your tools set up correctly, and obviously, training and development is super important. So we handle that as you get started, and obviously taking it to the next level is going that extra length. Let's see here. Yep, don't waste your time and money if you don't have the budget for at least 4 to 6 months set aside. You have to think your VA is an extension of, hey, bam, exactly. It's what exactly I said. Not just someone doing the dirty work. Think bigger for your business. Exactly. Yes. Let's see. How often do you provide lists to your VAs? Depending on how many VAs you have, right? So they're going to go through. You're going to go through 2,500 leads a week. You're going to recycle some. So you want to make sure that you have enough data to support however many VAs that you have. So if I have 15 VAs, I know how much data I'm going to need to use, how many times I'm going to have to recycle it. So I guess it's just how many people that you have. So the list isn't as important as the lead. So, a probate list is super small. Like I may have 100 people on a probate list, so they're going to go through that in like 10 minutes. But I still have it in there, right? So I guess just keeping track of like the total lead count would be the big deal. Yeah, that's the one thing you don't want to go cheap with. Your list and data, I'm assuming. So yeah, make sure that you have the money set aside to do it. Provide the data to make sure they're put in the right position. And there's also all kind of cool things that you can do. A lot of folks that work, they're W-2, they work full-time, 9 to 5, like having good communication with your VA and having the training. The coolest thing about VA Hub is like we're training and we're working with them consistently to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But so that way, when you get off of your 9 to 5 job, you either have appointments set up for you, you have, your one-on-one training with your VA, whatever you want to have. But like it can be structured and molded around your model and where you're currently at. Right? Because I'm sure maybe eventually, maybe you want to leave that 9 to 5 and go full time into this. But like taking that, what bridges that gap is having some help. Because if you're having to do a 9 to 5 job or a full time job and consistently have to prospect, like you're going to go gung ho for a couple of days and then it trails off. Like I know me personally, if I had to do all the cold calling, I would have like one good day of cold calling, and then like after that, I make a little bit of phone calls here, a little bit of phone calls there. I don't know why this isn't working for me. All these people are getting deals, but like I don't know why I'm not getting any leads. It's because it's not consistently consistent marketing. So the coolest thing about having a VA is that whole shift. That's their only job, is to do that thing, and it's every day that they're on shift. So you're going to have consistent lead flow, and then at that point, when you have leads coming in consistently and you have that part figured out and your people are getting trained and you're really starting to grow your business and you go from 1 to 3 deals, at that point it comes to you, right? It comes like, how can I convert better? How can I be a better salesperson? How can I be better at negotiations? How can I develop me? Because like at that point, it's like, hey, we're giving you all the opportunities. You got to close these things, right? So, and that's a good position to be in. So, but they will come down to that. So I think Chris Root says skills get the deal. So you got to make sure you're always sharpening the axe and developing your skills. Let's see. Chad says, do you have them say different opening for each list, say pre-foreclosure in regards to the probate list? No, not really. We split tested it. Sometimes with the pre-foreclosure list, we tried, hey, are you aware of what's going on with the property? And then we start mentioning the foreclosure because a lot of these people get bombarded with people calling them wanting to buy their property. So we split tested that, coming as more as a part of, I guess, like a position of service and value, and kind of showing them the different options of how you can save the property. But as an opener, that's not their job. And what you'd have your VA, we just want to get motivated people, because at the end of the day, we only get paid if we can buy the property. So the script doesn't really change that much. Now, if I'm door knocking, it's going to be a little bit different, right? But for cold calling, it really doesn't matter to the list. We're just calling in regards to the property. Let's see here. Rob says that's so true. Quick out of the gate and slowing down and trying to find motivation again, not efficient. Exactly. Facebook user, don't know your name. How do you deal with the do not call list and texting? Is there a software you can scrub your list? How would you get around that? I believe Batch has a service called Litigator Scrub, so you can remove anyone who has in the past filed a complaint for folks who have called them. Since this is a Facebook Live and this is live across all social media, I have to say seek legal counsel when it comes to calling the do not call list, because I can't tell you like, hey, you need to call them, or hey, you shouldn't call them. So I would go that route for sure. Sorry to be super vague. I know I've been straightforward with you guys with every other question, but with that particular thing, I have to say you probably should seek legal counsel before cold calling, texting, and RVMing the people on the do not call list. But like I said, there is the litigator scrub stuff where you can scrub out anyone who has filed complaints in the past for folks cold calling them. So let's see, guys. What other questions we have? Awesome. Hey, my VA is actually in here right now. He says, I love this, man. What's up, dude? See, that's why you got to keep your people happy. You got to keep your people, into it. Like everybody in my company feel like they're a part of a family. I care about them. I know that he has 4 daughters, and one of them just had a birthday last week. And, he loves to sing karaoke, right? So it's understanding, again, they're an extension of your business. They're an extension of you. So take care of your people. That's what it comes down to. Jeff says, on a large list, do you reset the list daily, or do you wait until they go through all the leads? On a small niche list, if the callers get through it in a couple hours, do you hit the list again? So we don't hit the list again. You can set the campaign up in Call Tools to not call that lead again for at least 1 day, but you're going to have to recycle that phone list. So once they get through it, you recycle the phone list, and which again is another VA task. You recycle the phone list, you put it back in the campaign, and they'll dial through the ones that they didn't get connected to. But there's a setting in your campaign in Call Tools where you can say, as a callback template, do not call this lead again and it's 1 day, 3 days, 7 days. So if they get through the whole list, they won't call those same people back for that period of time, whatever that you set. So again, there's so many cool things that you can do on the dialer, like live transfers. You can have an IVR to screen your calls as they come in. There's all different kind of sorts of stuff you can do. And Call Tools can do it all, but I wouldn't get lost in too much of that kind of stuff. More along the lines of knowing how to use your dialer is important. Like setting up a campaign, uploading phone list, putting all the phone numbers in one column, and buying phone numbers and putting them into caller ID groups. So you're running through caller IDs and you're not just spamming one number. So there's tutorials on all that stuff on vahub.com, guys. Cool. Well, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask them away here. If I don't get anything else, we'll probably wrap this up in a couple minutes. But I hope that you guys got some awesome value out of this today. VAs has completely changed my business. It completely changed, my life, actually, going from, 0 deals just last August in door knocking. And don't get me wrong, I still love door knocking because I love talking to people. But going from that to having an operation where it's completely virtual completely changed my life. And I know it can be done for anyone. If I can do it, definitely you can do it too. And I'm not just saying that because everybody says it. This can really be done. It's not rocket science. Let's see. Okay, we have a question from Facebook user. What is the cost of Call Tools? So Call Tools is $120 a month, and they have a power dialer of up to 10 lines. So Mojo is like $99, and I think their triple line dialer, I could be wrong, it's like $169. I'm not sure exactly what that price is, but it's just for a 3-line dialer. Call Tools does all like call center kind of stuff, and it dials up to 10 lines as your power dialer. So for the money, you can't beat it. And if you guys are interested in signing up, I can get you a discount on the sign up fee, which is typically, I believe, $100. You'll get half off if I give you my guy James, he'll sign you up. Let's see. What time of the day is best for cold calling? Early mornings are awesome, but I have my folks calling all day. But early mornings, like just like with like realtors, like that's the prospecting, the power hours, like 8 a.m. to noon is amazing. We have a little bit of drop off at lunchtime, right? So like 12 to 2 is a little drop off, and then it picks right back up. So what I mean by drop off and how I know is I can check the dialer, and it's like the available time. So it'll tell you like your live agent report, and your CSM will look at that. And when the available time goes up over like a minute and a half, it's like a red flag. It's like, why are we not connecting to the people, right? It's either the phone numbers have been marked as a robocaller, or we're not dialing enough lines. So the CSM gauges that, and they make sure that everything's working properly. But during that period of time, there's a lot of folks that just aren't answering their phone. The like the 1, 2, 5. What's your opinion between ZenCall and Call Tools? Never use ZenCall. I would be wrong to tell you guys otherwise. Like if I said no, screw ZenCall. I don't know. I've never used it. I've only used Call Tools. Who's closing your deals? That's me still. I've tried to get acquisition help before having my VA in the Philippines now as like an acquisition role. I haven't completely relinquished everything on him yet, but as far as like if I know someone needs to get like a deal needs to be closed, I'm making that phone call. What was the moment of success breakthrough that you can share when you first got a VA? So very early on, whenever I was door knocking, I hired this lady named Cheryl, and I gave her the same people that I was door knocking. I was cold calling as well. So I door knocked, and I got that appointment. I went in, had no clue what I was doing. I just knew that I needed to buy a property at this price, and we negotiated. I got that deal. But while I was in that appointment, my VA sent me my second deal. Like while I was getting ready to sign that contract, my VA said, "Hey, I got this lead over here on, I forget the address." But she's like, they're ready to sell. They're motivated. I'm like, holy crap. I'm signing a deal right now, and now I have somewhere else to go to get another deal. So going from 0 to like, bam, now I'm really in this. That's what made it real for me. And I think it's for a lot of folks too. Like I see, a lot of people do deals, and, they're making all this money, and you see it on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, but like, it wasn't real for me until I got that first check. Like signing the contract, huge, but getting that first check. Because I mean, I had some struggles getting started, right? I had, my very first time, I thought I had a big deal. I signed a contract with this dude's son who had nothing to do with the property. So that was a big learning moment for me. So I definitely had struggles getting started, but like once I got that check, it made it real for me. Let's see. If you're new, just starting out with one VA, what should you do first? Pull niche list, pre-foreclosure. I'd probably just start with pre-foreclosure, to be honest with you, depending on what state you're in. So Arizona is a non-judicial state, meaning that there's an acceleration clause. If someone defaults on their payment and they get a notice of default and they don't cure that notice of default, they get what's called a notice of sale here. And then when they get that notice of sale, they have 90 days to catch up, or their house is sold at auction. So they are really super motivated in that 90-day period to get something done. And typically, like, I'm not reaching out to foreclosure just because, hey, your house is about to go to auction. Foreclosure is a simple indicator that there is some financial distress. Maybe by selling the property, it can alleviate some of that distress. So I recommend starting with the small niche campaigns, depending on what state you're in. And the judicial states it takes a little bit longer. So like South Carolina, where I'm from, and Florida, those are judicial states. So there actually has to go to court to finalize the foreclosure. Let's see. Thanks for sharing this info. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I really hope you guys got something cool from this today. Call tool seems to be to get bad connection. You have to have good internet connection for call tools to work because it is a badass dialer. So you need to make sure you can use all the features. So good internet connection is important. What is James' contact info? It is james@calltools.com. Okay, so you're a Liverpool fan. I don't know if I can answer this question, but I'm just kidding. do the VAs with VA Hub get the 13th month pay? So they get paid weekly. So, yep. So I'm assuming so you're like, well, if it's $225 a week, like that's technically 13 months, not 12. Yeah, they just get paid weekly. So I was just doing a budget numbers. So, yeah. Do you market only in AZ? If not, how did you pick your market? By price point, right? So I'm looking at markets that are the people are pretty active in, and I'm looking at I want properties that the median price point is 150 to 225, somewhere in there. Liverpool, no. Finally, they win a title, dude. Finally. Jeez, now we're gonna hear about it for all of eternity. Okay. Facebook user, when should you hire a VA if you haven't done a deal yet? I hired a VA before I even did a deal, but I knew hey, it takes a lot. I think this is a big thing too. It takes a lot of action. It takes a lot of energy to get that first deal. But what you do is by having a VA from the very beginning is you build some serious momentum. Because like I said, I was in my first appointment about to get that. It wasn't my first appointment, but I was in that appointment about to get that contract when I got the next deal that I was going to sign. So from then, if I didn't have the VA, I knew oh my gosh, I just got this deal. I worked really hard. I got this contract. Now, what a lot of people do is they baby that deal to closing. And what if something happens, right? What if that falls through? What if you don't get paid? Then all that work was for nothing, and then you got to start over again. So by having a VA doing the prospecting for you while you're doing it, you're doubling your efforts. So regardless if my first contract actually went to closing and I got that check, regardless if that would happen, I already had another deal lined up, right? So I'm moving to the next one. So I would do it as soon as you can. Cool. Well, I think I've got all the questions here, guys. Is there anything else as we wrap it up? Is there anything that I can do to you, do for you? Any kind of questions I can help answer? If you guys need anything, obviously my Facebook name is Matt Beard. You can shoot me a direct message. If you have any more questions, I'd be happy to help as far as the process is concerned and, hiring a VA, best practices and stuff. I hope you guys got some good value here today. And again, if I can help y'all in any way, just feel free to reach out. We're going to wrap this up. Thanks, guys.